Namaste, you're on the Nation at 5. I'm Anand Narasimhan, and ladies and gentlemen, we start with news coming in at this point from Australia. There is a second temple that has now been vandalized. News coming in of more instances of Hindu hate on display, but perhaps Pak vandals posing as Khalistanis, a desperate act to try and get some attention. That's what we are being told. It's another incident that has happened. A second Hindu temple vandalized by Khalistanis. The Shri Shiva Vishnu Temple at Carrum Downs was trashed by Khalistan supporters just days after anti-India and anti-Hindu graffiti was smeared on the walls of the BAPS Swaminarayan Mandir at Mill Park. This came to notice on Monday when devotees came for darshan, as the 3-day-long Thai Pongal festival is being celebrated in the Tamil Hindu community. So as they came to the temple, they saw these aspects of vandalizing and a certain effect to deface the temple, attempt to deface the temple. Jitarth Bhardwaj, editor of the Australia Today, is with us. Alok Bansalji, director, India Foundation, also joining us. Jitarth, once again, they are desperate. They're getting no traction, but they are targeting Hindu temples. And why so? Why should they do this? And is there going to be any hard action that will be taken? Have these vandals been caught in the act on CCTV? Some details from you.
Yes, Narasimha, there is CCTV footage of these goons while they were writing these graffitis on Shiva Vishnu Temple. Police has collected it from the temple authorities, and there are a number of big stores on the street where this temple is situated. So police has also contacted them about the CCTV footage. But the question why they have done it at this point in time, I must tell you that on 15th Sunday, there was a Khalistan car rally performed in, there was call, but only hardly 200 people came there after the call by Khalistani supporters was made. So they were very upset about the incident that their car rally could not generate the numbers what they would have anticipated. So on the same night, these goons went on to write on walls of the Shiva Vishnu Temple, 26 January, Delhi D-Day. Now, I have been sent a video from this Gurpat Wan Singh Pannu's team, and the same 26 January D-Day, Delhi D-Day has been propagated there. So it's exactly the same slogans which is there in the video, which have been done on the Shiva Vishnu Temple. They are calling, this Pannu's video is calling for people to put a flag of Khalistan on 26 January at the Red Fort. And for that, I can tell you, he is announcing a bounty of $500,000. This is the reason, and as I have told you, Nasima, before that, Gurpat Pannu is here in Melbourne. He's doing a press conference cum seminar where...
No, but the point is, Jitarth, simple question. If this is a video that has come from him, if he's inciting hate, if he's inciting secession, why are the Australian authorities allowing it? Is Australia a place where such individuals can touch down and then they can propagate hate, propagate separation, secession, and also challenge the sovereignty of another nation?
This is very surprising, Nasiman. He should not be allowed here in Australia. In previous cases, people who propagate hate have been deported from the airport itself. But this is very surprising that Labour Albanese government is allowing such a thing, despite Australia and India being very close security partners, Quad members, fellow Quad members. It is very surprising, and a lot of people, security analysts are seeing it with amused that he's coming in Melbourne and doing all these dramas. It wouldn't have possible unless government is looking on the other side. And there are murmurs that somewhere American security apparatus, which is called Deep State, that has worked its charm somewhere within Australian authorities, and that they are letting it happen here on Australian soil.
Wait, Yeah, I have a bit of a personal connect with this Shiva Vishnu Temple at Carrum Downs, because when I was in Melbourne in 2022, I did visit this temple, and it's been beautifully constructed, and largely it's the Tamil community there, which hails both from Sri Lanka and also from India, which has built this temple. Is there a reaction from the temple authorities? They're very, very strict about protocol. They and that entire community is very peaceful in that entire region. So is there any word from the temple authorities and the temple management?
Temple management is saying they're just dismayed. I mean, they were saying that we are trying to put our focus towards our Pongal festival and the Ekadashi festival, which just happened yesterday. That's why even the cleaning of the graffiti hasn't happened as yet. That will be starting tomorrow sometime. But the one word which they defined it was they are sad and dismayed by the ugly portrayal of hate towards Australian Hindu community.
Yeah, absolutely. Jitat, please stay with me. I'm just bringing in Alok Bansalji also. Alokji, you've heard the details. Jitat was the one who actually brought to the fore the defacing and the vandalism at the BAPS Swaminarayan Temple. That's also in Melbourne. This is the Shiva Vishnu Temple, a very unique temple, very beautifully built and very, very steadfastly maintained by the temple management. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also visited this temple when he visited Australia back in 2014, if I remember, and those pictures are also there somewhere in the entire area of the temple region, Alokji. But my question to you is, Alokji, why should such elements be allowed on foreign soil? How is it that such elements are tolerated with? Will Australia tolerate such entities talking about secession and challenging the sovereignty of Australia on Indian soil? Will the West keep quiet? Will this entire lobby that talks about human rights and respecting sovereignty of nations and democracies, will it stand up and will it tolerate this if it were to happen in their nations?
See,
why is this being? Why are these terrorists being allowed? He's a most wanted terrorist. He's on the hit list for India. He's a wanted man in India.
See, firstly, I think we need to understand that these so-called Khalistanis, their attempts to whip up emotions in the form of a rally actually failed miserably. And after failing miserably, I think they have their masters which sit across the borders and different parts of the world have actually instigated them to do something. And they are doing this sort of a provocative thing to elicit a reaction. To my mind, Australian government should have acted, because when you are vandalizing Hindu temples, you are actually affecting the sentiments of Hindus who are Australian citizens as well. There is a large diaspora of Indians living in Australia. There are large number of Fijian Indians who are actually living in Australia. There are, of course, Sri Lankan Tamils. You have a large diaspora, and most of them have Australian citizenship. So it is, I think, incumbent upon the Australian government to crack down upon such vandalization, because it instigates their population. It instigates division within their population. It instigates violence in Australia. And I think Australian government must crack down. I also feel that this is actually rather amazing that Australian government has not cracked down on such elements and those who are espousing hate, violence and secession. I think it's time that the Australian government cracks down at such elements and should have been done by now.
Such people have been given visas. Despite him being listed as a most wanted terrorist in India, he's got a visa and entry visa into and entry into Australia. Isn't that surprising? And shouldn't we pick it up diplomatically? He's listed. He's a wanted man. He's been designated a terrorist by India.
Undoubtedly, I think Indian MEA should take up this case. We should also take it up with Interpol and get a red corner notice issued against him, so that it becomes incumbent upon Australia to arrest him. I think we need to take it further and try and do so that such elements cannot move around freely from one country to another, from Canada to Australia, Australia to Canada, or things like that. And I think these countries should clamp down on this, and diplomatically we should put pressure on Australia. I think with the change of government, the Australian stance probably is changing slightly, but I think the government of India must bring it out to the notice of Australians that this sort of things are unacceptable. And I think Australians must be persuaded, because Australia and India are part of the Quad. we keep harping about Quad. And if Quad has to take off, then I think this sort of irritants have to get away.
Let me ask Jitat Bhartwaj this. Has the Melbourne police taken cognizance? Has a formal complaint been lodged? Are they in the hunt for these vandals? Have they even identified who vandalized at the BAPS Swaminarayan Temple?
As the moment, Nasima, I can tell you, police is just treating it not as hate crime, but as a graffiti vandal act. For that, they don't put much of their resources. Seriousness of Victoria Police can be described. They took almost 2 days to issue a statement on this incident. And since this morning, I have been trying to push them for a statement. They are not providing any information whether they are able to do something or not. Unofficially, we are able to get some info from our sources. However, the lackluster structure of their understanding towards these hate crimes is just deplorable. I don't know, Victorian government understands that the kind of distress it brings to Australian Hindu community, especially at the time of religious festivals. I'm not sure.
Let me just ask you, will the Melbourne police have reacted the same had it been some other religious structure or institution, a non-Hindu religious structure or institution? Would the reaction have been the same?
The simple answer is no. They would have been up and down. There would have been assistant commissioner or deputy commissioner standing right in front of the institution and talking to them and making them understand that they will do anything in their power to bring the culprits to face the law. But this time around, Hindu community has been writing letters to ministers, to the government officials. However, there is no assurance. There is a Victorian Multicultural Commission. The head of commission have not spoken a word against what has happened to 2 Hindu temples. And this
that is unfortunate, Alok Banshalji. That means, are you saying that just because you follow procedure, you are peace-loving, you follow protocol and you make requests politely, you can be junked? So should India be taken lightly like this? Should Hindu population be taken so lightly? Should the Indian diaspora be taken so lightly by the Australian authorities? Or should we make them understand that when we behave, that means you also behave? You respect that behavior?
I think the Indian envoy to Canberra and consulates in Sydney and other places, Melbourne, etc., should take up this case with the Australian government. And we must highlight that Hindus are not only Indian diaspora, there are Hindus in Australia who have come from different parts of the world. And I think Australian Hindu Foundation or Federation must do a peaceful demonstration so that the Australian authorities, especially the Victorian authorities, understand that Hindus are dismayed by this act. Because keeping quiet would make them feel that there is nothing happening, actually, as been brought out that they have taken it as a graffiti and vandalization or something rather than a religious provocation, a grave act of provocation. So I think that protest march or something whereby people come to know that yes, Hindus are dismayed by this act of the somebody, and I think that would be a worthwhile thing. I think the Hindu federations in Melbourne must take out a protest march or something so that the government realizes the gravity of this crime.
Well, I thank you. I thank you, Jitarji, for joining us. I'm going to request Alok Bansal to stay on. We are quickly moving on here on the Nation at 5. We've got big news coming in closer home, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news on the Jahangirpuri terror bust. This is a CNN News 18 exclusive where we get you the inside details of the terror suspects and their connection with Pak terrorists and also Canada-based gangsters. 2 terror suspects have been arrested so far for mutilating a man. This happened in Jahangirpuri. The victim was beheaded on camera and the body was chopped into 8 pieces. The suspects actually recorded the crime and sent it to their Pak handlers. Intelligence sources are saying that Naushad was ordered to kill a kafir. So the person was his handler on the other side using the social media platform Telegram. His name was Sohail. He actually said, I want you to kill a kafir and show me. This is the information that we have. The cops have actually accessed the video. They have accessed the entire video where they are shown. They are actually showing how they killed a Hindu boy, a 21-year-old, mutilated him and chopped him into 8 pieces. The intel sources are saying that the suspects plan to target Sangh figures in Haridwar. Delhi cops are now looking for 4 more suspects who are linked to these park handlers. They are also part of that same group. The lens is on 4 suspects who received park weapons in Uttarakhand. Police sources are saying that the suspects contacted handlers via Telegram and the Signal app. So 2 apps were used, Telegram and Signal. Naushad is originally from Bihar but has always lived in Jahangirpuri. Naushad has 4 or 5 cases of murder against him. He's a history sheeter in terms of crime. Naushad conspired to release Masood Azhar from Tihar back in 97-98. So he's also been on the terror radar. He conspired to release Masood Azhar from Tihar between 97 and 98. Naushad was released from jail in 2018, stayed in touch with park handlers, and Naushad connected with nexus of Canada-based gangster Arshdeep Gill in jail. Naushad was able to jump parole with the help of Arshdeep Gill's lawyers. So these are the details that we've got. Arshdeep Gill's lawyers helped Naushad jump parole and get out of jail. He was in jail for conspiring to even eject Masood Azhar from Tihar back in 97-98. It was a failed attempt then. Alok Bansal, Director, India Foundation with us, and Ellen Rao, Advocate and former DCP Delhi, also with us. Namaste again, gentlemen. Alok ji, thank you for staying back. This is a serious concern. How did this man slip the intel radar? How is it that these people, after serving time, continue to remain in touch with their park handlers? And how are they so far gone, so far radicalized, that they will make a video of killing a person who they call kafir? It's a Hindu boy, an Indian citizen, a fellow citizen, who they have beheaded, mutilated, and done it on video.
Anand, there are several issues that crop up from this particular case. Firstly, of course, the anti-terrorism cell or ATC of Delhi police needs to be complimented for arresting them. But at the same time, a person who was involved in conspiring to get Masood Azhar out, was known to have links with ISI, remained under the radar of the intelligence agencies, is actually extremely shocking to me, because this chap should have been a prime suspect for anyone. And this also highlights the thing that how motivated these terrorists can become and how they can be brainwashed that they could indulge in such a ghastly act. And this brings me to that issue which I have been highlighting time and again, that we need to look at radicalization. And in fact, we need to de-radicalize, and for de-radicalize we need a concerted campaign, because these people are brainwashed to the extent where they would do anything if their handlers tell them, because they have been convinced that what they are doing is right, and they have been brainwashed to that extent. And this brainwashing is part of a carefully calibrated campaign. And I think we have seen the clearest manifestation of how brainwashed these people are, that they are willing to kill an innocent boy just to please their masters, because they have been led to believe that. And I think this is a serious incident, and we must take cognizance, because this also tells us that ISI is desperately making an attempt to bring Islamist terrorist organizations along with Khalistani terrorist organizations, and trying to link them up. And this is the clearest manifestation of 2 different streams of terror coming together to fight the Indian state.
No, not just that. They're playing this dirty K2 game, Kashmir and Khalistan, and they are trying to play this game very dirtily. They're also trying to wean Sikhi away from Hinduism in terms of the soft narrative. And those Islamists who actually beheaded Sikhs, and those Sikhs who actually stood to defend India against these Islamists, they are trying to say that this is the same grouping. So all kinds of narratives, soft and hard, are being spun. But Ellen Raoji, Jahangirpuri, 2020, the riots, it was the hub of all of that. How is it that such an area and these people operating there were missed by the Delhi police and the intelligence radar?
Let me tell you, this is not actually missed. I must compliment the special cell and the intelligence agencies to trace them out, because they were mixed up in the population of Jahangirpuri, like that, as I have listened to so many videos about the residents of that area, that they were saying that they were living just like a normal person, very civilized like person. And I have a history, I have my experience, I can say, when we arrested some terrorists in Kanpur, they were also living in the same way. They live in that area, they get rented premises, and they behave like a very, very good gentleman. And this is their modus operandi to act from that area. And during that period when they are staying there, they recce that area and they do whatever they want to do in that area. But again, the heads off to the intelligence agencies, they could take out, they could trace out them, and their nefarious activities have been exposed. And one more thing I have to say, that these type of gangs, definitely they are being handled by either from the foreign countries like England, or their handlers are in Pakistan. They have a tendency of doing the criminal crime and getting the photographs and send it to their akas in their ISI linked Pakistan, so that they can get money out of them. That in this case,
but you are saying, yes, to a certain extent I agree with you that despite so much of camouflage and subterfuge, the intelligence agencies were able to pick this up, but it also was at the cost of a 21-year-old. What was the fault of that 21-year-old? Just because that 21-year-old was a Hindu, so he deserved to be beheaded, culled and made videos of? These are cases which are happening on a daily basis, Mr. L. N. Rao. How can the cops be blind to something like this? Is that not a concern on ground, sir? Is that not a concern on ground that every day we are getting cases of inducement of Hindu girls being ensnared into this one? There are young boys who are being either ensnared, killed. There are also Muslim boys, youngsters who are being radicalized, and there are elements who have actually jumped parole. This man tried to get Masood Azhar out of jail in 97-98. I'm sure somebody should have been keeping an eye on his activities after he was out of jail.
Yes, that's the important aspect of this thing, and a very heinous gruesome crime cannot be ignored like this. And this is a serious matter and cannot be pardoned by any corner of this our lion agencies. And that, as you are also right that the person who was then bail he was released from jail, and then he acted this the gruesome crime. That is to be seen, but at the same time, there is a system in policing that the hardcore criminals, whenever they are released on bail, they should be kept a watch over there. I think that some agency must have been keeping a watch over them, and they might miss out that his activities like this, and that they use some murder of an innocent person, innocent Indian, because of the radicalization of these terrorists. That cannot be any excuse by taking all these.
No, because there are 2-3 points of concern, Alok Bansalji. One is that there are individuals or groups who feel that they can pick up somebody, kill that person, mutilate them, behead them, drop their things, and they can get away with it. The fact that they think they can get away with it is a cause for concern. That they are caught is another aspect. But the fact that they think they can get away with it in Delhi, in the national capital, is a cause for concern. The other part is that you are damned if you do and if you are damned if you don't. If the cops pick up somebody because they believe this person is radicalized, all the human rights activists and the courts will jump at them saying, just because you think they are radicalized doesn't mean they have committed an act. And if they commit an act, then we turn around and ask them, why didn't you stop them before they commit the act?
Doubt about it that this is a serious issue, because many a times these people have been apprehended, and just because their conduct in the eyes of their neighborhood was good, so people say, why have they been apprehended? And I think this fact needs to be highlighted. This needs to be highlighted that a sleeper cell member behaves just like an ordinary citizen. In fact, he or she would appear to be even more civilized than the neighbors. But they are doing that because of an agenda. They have an agenda to fulfill. And I think all the so-called human rights organizations, etc., who have been shouting when people have been apprehended for acts of terrorism should take cognizance of this. And there is no doubt that the ATS or whoever apprehended them has done a good job. But it is a failure of our regular policing. The beat constable, whose job is to look actually at the neighborhood. How could a individual be killed inside a flat and videographed without anybody coming to know, without neighborhood knowing, without anybody else knowing? These are the issues that I think that we need to pay attention to.
Well,
there
the
was
fact
a
is
time
that
when Delhi police used to...
Aftab killed Shraddha Walker, nobody knew. The neighbors also did not get wind of it. It is just that they stumbled upon it 6-8 months later. So there are some serious issues that are happening, but at various levels, we need to take cognizance of what's happening around us, and we need to be aware and very, very alert to this very clear and present danger amongst us. Thank you for your inputs, Ellen Rao and Alok Bansal. We're going to take a very short break here on The Nation at 5. Stay with us.